in Akobo County of Jonglei State. And Warab State Governor has lifted the immunity of Tony South Commissioner and suspended him for allegedly shooting and injuring a civilian. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Yar Ajak Deng, and now the news in detail. SSPDF commander in Central Equatoria's Kajokeji County says police are investigating 6 officers arrested for allegedly killing 3 men in the area last week. Those killed include two teenage cousins, Yamba Lomosik, 18, and Justin Losik Lomosik, who was 16. The third victim was 38-year-old Yigawani. This occurred when unnamed soldiers searching for the body of their colleague allegedly executed them in cold blood after they volunteered to show them the body of their deceased. Over the weekend, Kajokeji Commissioner Kenyi Erasto reported that authorities in the area arrested 6 soldiers in connection with the killing. Colonel John Camilo, who is the area commander, confirmed the arrest. He says that the police are investigating the suspects. The colonel spoke to iRadio from Kajokeji this morning.
الإجراء جاري التحقيق هيجي بعد القانون يا بيعرف الكلام ده كان حصل فيه التحقيق بتاع البوليس جاري فوق يا محدد نوعية القتل ده كان كيف حتى العسير ده قتل منو حتى الموتين ده قتل منو ده بعدين بيطلع في ستمنت بتاع الشرطة والتحقيق جاري كيف حقيقة ده بحاجزين من منو لو ما في ناس هاي في تحقيق هسه جاري التفاصيل بتاعنا ده هتلقوه من المتهرب بعدين المتهرب لما ينتهي من شغل بتاعه ناس بتينا الإجراء وإجراء جاري بعد
Yesterday, a member of parliament representing Kajokeji County in RTNL said she tabled a motion over the killing of 3 civilians in the area last Thursday. The parliament is expected to deliberate on the incident today. The national ministers of wildlife and water resources have interrogated a Akobo youth leader over the massacre of wild animals in Akobo County of Jonglei State. Geng Deng Ngoth was called to Juba by Minister Rizik Zakaria Hassan and Manawa Peter Gatkoth. In a joint statement seen by iRadio, Zakaria told the youth leader to play his part in the prevention of poaching in the area. He said wild animals are important species that should be protected. For his part, Geng Deng Ngoth, the Akobo youth leader, regretted the incident and pledged to pursue the youth in the area not to repeat similar acts. Ngoth said he would ensure that unnecessary hunting of animals is abandoned. Last week, the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism said it identified poachers who killed several animals in Akobo County of Jonglei State. This was after photos widely circulated online depicted 3 armed men posing beside a dead elephant, giraffe, and a buffalo. The photos, posted under the name King Wiyol, angered social media users who demanded tougher action against poaching. Zakaria says the poachers have been identified as members of the organized forces in the opposition-held areas of Akobo, the accusation which SPLM-IO denies. They reportedly killed the wild animals in April this year. South Sudan has 6 national parks and 13 game reserves with 300 mammal species in an area of more than 13% of the country's terrain. However, the country's wildlife is dwindling because of rampant poaching in the country. Conservationists say since the start of 2013 conflicts, there has been an increase killing and trafficking of wild animals by armed actors, including the government and opposition forces as well as armed civilians. Minister Hassan said most people in the far-flung areas of the county do not see it as a crime. You are listening to iRadio 1 o'clock news bulletin. Warab State Governor has lifted the immunity of Tony South Commissioner and suspended him for allegedly shooting and injuring a civilian. The incident reportedly occurred on Friday, according to the state spokesperson. Ring Deng Ring says the victim, he declined to name, has been transferred to Juba for medical treatment. The suspension decision, Deng says, is to enable the law enforcement agents to investigate into the matter. He confirmed the order to lift Commissioner Malang Agor immunity this morning.
This situation happened on Friday night where the commissioner of South County, Honorable Agor Malang Agor, was accused to be involved in shooting. And the victim was taken to Juba for medical treatment process, where he was held in the hospital and is now a bit okay. But the governor of Warab State take a step to lift it, the immunity of the commissioner, in order for him to go for investigation.
Several attempts to contact Todd South Commissioner for a comment were not immediately successful. The Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports in Central Equatoria State has suspended indefinitely the chairperson and Secretary General of the State Youth Union. In a ministerial order seen by iRadio, Minister Rita Dominic Jada suspended Charles Ladu Daniel, the union's chairperson, and James Sekwat Enosa, the Secretary General. The order issued yesterday didn't cite any reasons for their suspension. However, the order stated that the deputy chairperson will be the acting chairperson of the youth union, effective of yesterday. This came days after the senior staff appeared to have signed a petition demanding the removal of the state interim chairperson of SPLM, IG, Governor Emmanuel Adil, from office. The 4-page petition, later widely shared on social media, was addressed to President Salva Kiir, the chairperson of the SPLM party. iRadio's effort to reach the suspended chairperson and his Secretary General for comments were not successful immediately. And finally, before the international news, Vice President Dr. James Waniga has urged developmental partners to provide more agricultural tools to farmers to boost food production in the country. This, he says, will reduce reliance on relief aid assistance in the country. According to a recent World Bank report, South Sudan remains in a serious humanitarian crisis, with some 8.9 million people estimated in need of humanitarian assistance in 2020, an increase of 600,000 since 2021. The group added that living conditions continue to be impacted by violence, displacements, and climate shocks. Public expenditures on key social sectors include health, education, water and sanitization, agriculture and rural development are limited, the World Bank stated. Similarly, the group adds that extreme levels of acute food insecurity persist across the country, and an estimated 8.3 million people, including refugees, are expected to experience severe food insecurity in the coming lean season. Speaking during the inauguration of FAO office in Juba yesterday, Dr. James Waniga says,
as a prosecution's counsel teams were satisfied with the judgment of today as we present the case to the courts.
Apologies for that mistake in the soundbite. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Western Equatoria is the only state that was able to produce its own food for the last consecutive years. The agency adds that food production has significantly declined in Western and Central Equatoria State due to timber conflict and continuous insecurity in the Yei area. Meshak Malo is the FAO county representative in South Sudan. He says South Sudan can produce its own food if only peace is stabilized at all levels. South Sudan has millions of hectares of arable land considered suitable and is fertile for agriculture, as well as plenty of rivers and basins. Despite gaining independence in 2011, the country imports most of its basic requirements from the region. Tomatoes, onions, maize flour, cooking oil, dairy products, and beans are some of the food items still being imported from neighboring countries. However, crop production levels in South Sudan reportedly declined in 2016 due to displacement of farmers in different parts of the country. You are still listening to iRadio Afternoon News, and now to the stories making headlines in the region and international scene, proudly brought to you by MTN. My colleague Doru Penina joins us.
Freedom is everyone's desire. Freedom is what makes you and me happy. Freedom is called Hurea in my country. My telecom network has chosen to give me freedom. MTN is my network. I have the freedom. I choose affordable and reliable. Hurea Bundles is my way. MTN introduces to you Hurea Bundles, giving you the freedom to call across all networks with the same bundles. Subscribe by dialing star 100, star 3, star 4 hash and get 15 minutes for only 100 SSP and 30 minutes for 150 SSP, valid for 1 day. Hurea, pure freedom. MTN, everywhere you go.
Sudanese authorities have released 125 political prisoners after the country's military leader lifted the state of emergency on Sunday. There were leaders of the resistance committee who opposed the military coup after months of unlawful detention, the private Sudan Tribune website reported, citing a Sudanese lawyers group. The activists were released from prison in the capital Khartoum, Port Sudan, and Rabak in the southeast. Their release came after General Abdul Fattah al-Burhan lifted the state of emergency that he imposed across the country after seizing power in a military coup last October. Elsewhere, rebels in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have retreated from areas they recently captured in clashes with government forces in northern Kivu province. The fighting displaced more than 100,000 people in the province, but local media report that many locals are now returning to their homes in Rutsukuru and Nyirongo areas. A spokesperson for the M23 rebels, Major Willy Ngoma, has told the BBC that we have left those areas in order to make peace. The rebels had advanced to about 20 kilometers from the provincial capital, Goma. And finally, Canada should introduce a total ban on the buying and selling of all handguns. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said his government is proposing a new law that could free private ownership of all short-barreled firearms. The legislation could not ban the ownership of handguns outright, but could make it illegal to buy them. Mr. Trudeau's proposal comes days after a deadly shooting at Texas primary school in the neighboring U.S. killed 21 people. That's all making headlines in the international arena. The microphone is yours, Yar Ajar.
Thank you, Penina Doru, for those international news. And now my colleague Jacob Moyo joins us with the sports news.
In local sports, South Sudan's men's senior national team, Bright Stars, will be traveling to Senegal from Morocco this afternoon after a short preparation period in Casablanca. This is after a single friendly game against Sudan that ended in goalless draw on Sunday. The team will face the Gambia national team on next Saturday, 4th of June, before playing Malian on 9th in the same month. Elsewhere, Marcelo will leave the European Giants as the most decorated player in the club's history 15 years after he arrived at Real Madrid with a plan to succeed Roberto Carlos. The 34-year-old overtook Paco Gento, whose haul included 6 European Cups in the 1950s and 60s when he won his 6th La Liga title last month, and took his tally to 25 trophies with a 5th Champions League success as the Spanish side beat Liverpool on Saturday. The left-back draped a flag and scarf over the goddess at the Fountain of Cybele, where Real traditionally celebrate titles with their fans before hoisting the trophy aloft in front of thousands of supporters. And finally, Daniil Medvedev and Stefanos Tsitsipas suffered fourth-round exits on a day of shocks in the men's draw at the French Open. World number 2 Medvedev was thrashed 6-2, 6-3 and 6-2 by Croatian Marin Cilic in a one-sided evening session. Fourth seed Tsitsipas lost in 4 sets as teenager Holger Rune reached a maiden Grand Slam quarterfinals. The Dane 19 punished a lackluster display from the 2021 Roland Garros runner-up to triumph 7-5, 3-6, 6-3 and 6-4. End of iRadio Sports News, and back to you, my colleague in the studio.
Thank you, Jacob Moyle, for those sports news. And now to end this news bulletin, here is a recap of the headlines again. SSPDF commander in Central Equatoria, Kajokeji County, says police are investigating 6 officers arrested for allegedly killing 3 men in the area last week. The National Ministers of Wildlife and Water Resources have interrogated a Congo youth leader over the massacre of wild animals in Congo County of Jonglei State. And the Warab State Governor has lifted the immunity of Tone South Commissioner and suspended him for allegedly shooting and injuring a civilian. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can also get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alert on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700-700 and follow the instructions. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287870. It is also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30. I am Yar Ajak. Thank you for listening.
Freedom is everyone's desire. Freedom is what makes you and me happy. Freedom is called Hurea in my country. My telecom network has chosen to give me freedom. MTN is my network. I have the freedom. I choose affordable and reliable. Hurea Bundles is my way. MTN introduces to you Hurea Bundles, giving you the freedom to call across all networks with the same bundles. Subscribe by dialing *100 *3 *4# and get 15 minutes for only 100 SSB and 30 minutes for 150 SSB, valid for 1 day. Hurea, pure freedom. MTN, everywhere you go.